Unity is a positive path for spiritual living that recognizes the beauty of every spiritual philosophy. It aims at supporting people in their quest for a healthy and prosperous life, a life of significance. RevAna Quintana and Oswaldo Mora, leaders of the bilingual ministry Unity Community of Light, are here every Sunday morning to bless you with either an inspiring dialogue and or meditation based on the powerful Unity teachings that we are certain will lead you to a space of deep personal transformation. Please be welcome to Encuentro Espiritual English. Good morning, everyone, and please be welcome to Encuentro Espiritual, the English version. I am RevAna Quintana, and I'm here with partner in crime, no, in healing, Oswaldo Mora and Reverend Julie. Last week, we were here together embarking on a new adventure. As you know, this is Unity Community of Light, Unity Comunidad de Luz. We are a bilingual virtual Unity ministry that serves people all over, mostly in Puerto Rico, North Carolina, Ecuador, and other places throughout the world. And we welcome you. We are grateful you are here. If this is your first time, please know you are more than welcome. And hopefully it might be your third time, for we started 2 weeks ago talking about the healing journey of my friend and mentor, Reverend Julie, who happens to also be a Unity minister, a psychologist, Reiki master, and besides all of that has high education degrees in languages. She's fully bilingual, English and Spanish, so she'll be participating in our healing series in the Spanish world. So anyways, glad to have you here. You may refer to what we started 2 weeks ago, talking about how consciousness can lead to a healthy life and to a healthy experience besides everything else. Julie was able to share with all of us how she was able to consider another possibility when her little daughter it was in the 60s, right?
Right.
Being 5 years old, was told that she had a gene-based disease, cystic fibrosis. It's a condition of the lungs, and that had only essentially 2 years to live. And Julie was blessed enough to attract the right and perfect help in a healing practitioner. Her name was Alice, and Alice got her into a journey of healing that started with her own healing first. Today we have named this chapter and this show Stepping into the Unknown, which is the very first thing that Julie was able to do, essentially walking away from a belief system. What did that initial belief system say to you, Julie?
That I was being punished for not having gone to church often enough, and that my child was going to die because I was not a good enough person.
And also the belief system that many of us carry, that the ultimate word is regarding our health, it's doctor given. It's like whatever.
Absolutely, yes.
And I guess that and you might correct me, but walking into the unknown and opening up to ideas that are not necessarily mainstream, or that may be to some people but we're not, you have no reference in your own consciousness that there was a connection, for instance, between mind and body, between emotions and thoughts and conditions. I think if we were to name it, and I would love to make some reference here, and both Oswaldo, if you want to react, some of the ideas that you were exposed to as this practitioner told you there's a way of healing your daughter. It's like how thoughts, beliefs, and emotions impact our health, how the body has a natural capacity to heal, how the power that made the body can
heal the body,
how organs under the right conditions can reconstruct themselves, how a medical diagnosis is not the ultimate truth, and how a medical prognosis is not conclusive. Actually, we can even refer to quantum physics. Before 1925, it was all about traditional medicine, but after 1925, this field of quantum physics started saying something, and I'm quoting Dr. Bruce Lipton: the invisible forces that we have been discounting in medicine are the primary forces that control everything. In other words, there's another reality that when we are in contact with that reality can really shift physical conditions. Are you in agreement?
Definitely. When Julie was saying about her punishment,
Yeah.
guess who came to my mind?
Your grandma.
Of course. Because I remember once she was, making that bad business of going to pray every single Sunday and
Not getting anything
back. So I said, I always was confronting her. Abuela, but what happened with God? What is He not helping you? And I remember that once she said, because I'm not going constantly with my heart to church. So I was seeing her every single Sunday, but she realized that she wasn't there because of her heart, but she was in her mind, and that was the reason why God didn't give her what she was asking for.
right?
So, of course, when right now I'm thinking of that heart of my grandmother, it made me sad because all of this is just about education.
Yeah.
Before Julie was educated into spirit, she thought that she was being punished.
Right.
So it doesn't work like that. Everything has an intellectual explanation. And if we don't know how these things work, and if we don't know how life works, if we don't get to connect with that power that moves everything here. I remember Wayne Dyer saying about put your life in the hands of that power that make your nails grow.
Right. Yeah.
As simple as that, because I said, oi, I don't have to ask my heart, hey, remember to beat, because
Right. It's gonna do it automatically.
exactly.
It
So
knows
there
what
is
to do.
something in me that makes that everything works.
Right.
You see, it's about education.
Right.
So it's education, and education means opening up to other possibilities, other reliefs. And I guess that one of the things, and I would love to get your reaction, Julie, is that when when we step into the unknown, we have to be willing to not only accept other people's ideas, like in this case, this practitioner, but also be willing to go within and listen, because whenever we get sick, there's something off with our bodies. Our bodies are speaking to us, and we need to listen. It's like not necessarily caught up in the diagnosis, but where is it? Where am I? And what is really life and my body trying to tell me? I remember when I was diagnosed with cancer, I called a friend of mine who's an integrative oncologist, and I told him about my diagnosis. And immediately he said, before I went into further details, he says, "Tell me what is going on in your life." Meaning, right from the start, there must be something that is happening in you and around you that has led at some point and level for you to experience that. In your case, you were the healer. It was your little girl who had the condition. You started working in you first, the healer first, to bring healing to Leslie. How did it feel for you experiencing the fear and then starting to contemplate more and more some other reality? What in your memory was key in helping you shift from the world that I know that seems real and it's the only reality, to another world that started seeming more real, to the point where she was healed, had a remission? What, if you could share with us, what was really happening in you? What were you letting go of and that you were acquiring? What was key? How was your faith building?
It was a very difficult time in my life because I did not believe this new alternative. I didn't understand that the body that made you can heal you. It just wasn't a concept that was in my mind. And I had to let go of all the brainwashing. I had had so much brainwashing that, God didn't want her to live, that God was punishing me for not having gone to church as much as I should have, or whatever. So I had to begin by changing my concept of God. And that was a really first step. God was in me, not up in heaven looking down and with a book writing down my sins and punishing me. So that was the first step, and that took a while because it was so different from everything I had learned. I had been raised in a traditional Christian church that taught me that God punishes, and God is writing down all your sins, and God is aware of your troubles, and whenever something happens, it's because you've been bad. So
it was an anthropomorphic God.
Yes.
That you have to just in order to bring another God to your space. So that's a great point, that many of us, in order to accomplish healing, have to refine our definition of God and therefore our relationship with that what we call God.
Yeah, I mean, going from an anthropomorphic God who lives in a place, has in heaven, is sitting there looking down at you, writing all your sins down, to a God that is spirit in you, and that spirit is love. So when she was able to convince me, it was when she switched and said, God is love. So God is really a spirit that lives in you. I could buy that. That was easier for me to buy because I was still thinking of an anthropomorphic God living in me. And I was thinking, well, when I think of God, I still think of a big man who lived in me. And she said, no, it is spirit, it is love that lives in you. And
it's principle.
It's principle, and that's the only thing that heals is the principle. So once I got to that point, then I was able to accept the rest.
So then we can already maybe make everybody aware that in the healing journey, one of the first we need to explore and go inside and see. It's like, who is God really for me?
Right.
Is the God that I grew up with the God that can really see me through this condition?
Exactly. Yeah. But you have to be willing and open. And when you're desperate, and I was desperate, you are willing to take a concept that you don't understand and grasp it until you do. And that's what I did.
And it's a big deal because, and this is something that in the Encuentro Espiritual in Spanish, since we serve a lot of people who come from traditional religion, and we have, we need to more and more become aware that if we are going to move forward in our spiritual path, having a God that it's, let's say, moody and human, and that we have to negotiate with, we have to beseech to, it's really in contradiction to spiritual truth. And if you're not resonating on spiritual truth, how can you really open the doors to other possibilities? Because in your consciousness, you still have to protect from that God somehow, right, Oswaldo?
There is, I remember that my grandmother used to say that I have to fear God.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, if in my consciousnness I got this idea that this upper guy is taking control of, can you imagine?
Yeah, you're doing like accounting.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's like I have no options. And I remember an interview for a friend, and she was a psychologist. She said, somebody asked her if she had faith in God, and she said, I have faith in life, because life is God. And then I connect with the God is the only presence in the universe, the only energy that exists and doesn't exist, so it's everything. So if I am alive, that means I have that power in me.
Mm-hmm.
So that is God in me.
Right.
So you see, it's connecting the dots. The So now I understand. And of course, being in darkness doesn't help at all.
And the connecting the dots, it's something that has to be done by us.
Right.
No one is going to take us through that. You got the help from this practitioner, was a really important help, but you had to do the work.
Yes.
And you have to revise your belief system, and you have to see, does it sit really well? And you had the biggest incentive that if you really wanted to help your daughter heal, you had to really push yourself out into a field that now what I thought was true is not necessarily true. And that can be scary.
Yes, absolutely. I had gone for 2 years still believing that I was being punished by God. And what could I do to appease this God that had punished me and given me this child? And I was told, just be better and go to church more and whatever, but nothing was working. So at the point when I met her, I was willing to try anything. And as contrary as this was to my belief, because I really had been indoctrinated very severely as a child and as an adult.
Yeah.
So I was willing to, let's just check it out and see if it's a possibility for me. But so I was open to
and
it.
because in the bigger picture, you were actually taken higher in consciousness, and when your soul is already ready to go there, everything that needs to be in alignment for you to do that, even if it's through something as difficult and hard like seeing, going through the critical illness of a child, if that's what it takes, let it be so. It was just when you were mentioning about the God's punishment, I was reminded of these words by Jesus from John 9, in which he is, and I want to really actually read it, because I think it really applies to your story. It says, as Jesus passed by, he saw a man which was blind from his birth. And his disciples asked him, saying, Master, who did sin, this man or his parents, that he was born blind. And Jesus answered, neither has this man sinned, nor his parents, but that the works of God should be made manifest in him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what really, in the bigger picture, God's works wanted to be manifested not only in Leslie's life, which she lived a normal life until she was 50, and ahead we will just give the people more details. But this really got you into a path of spiritual leadership to help so many people, including me, that were meant to be helped, but that you could not fulfill your destiny without really going through this experience.
Yeah, without that healing, I would never have switched my life to what I really came in to do, which was to serve and to love and to heal. But I would have probably never gotten on that. I'd gotten off the path.
Right.
And Leslie brought me back, having that child with that disease.
And could we say then that besides doing the changing consciousness that can lead to healing, there's a deeper purpose?
Exactly.
And the deeper purpose, we could say in general, is to bring us closer to spirit and to our dharma, to our life purpose.
Right.
So what if you today, whatever you might be going through, health-wise, or it could be a depression and you feel trapped there, what if it's not only about being in a space of joy and happiness and freedom, but that actually through this particular circumstance is how you're really going to walk the path that you're meant to walk on.
Right.
This is powerful stuff.
Right. Yeah.
It's definitely it is a failure, a very important part, fundamental part in this success goal. Because without failure, how can I create a strength in me? Because if everything is easy, everything is fine, I was born here, I have everything that I want, I don't know why you're crying for. God, it's not like that. Because, and that's the point, that how life works. The world is telling me all the time, look outside, this is what you want, and this is you.
And this is what you need to be happy.
What you need. Mm-hmm. And forget about you. And you must be connected to the needs of the other people.
Right.
Forget about you. So, and they tell you the same thing. Forget about you, and you must take care of me.
Right.
And that's the game. So everybody wants to help everyone. But hey, hold on. Just quit the idea of you have to help anyone and comes and help yourself. And that's how I see. I see how I'm doing better things than my father. And I'm seeing how my father did better things than my grandfather.
Right.
And I see how my kids are doing better things than me.
Right.
And I'm not trying to help them. Is that let me experience Oswaldo in his 100%.
Right.
And I don't take anything granted from me. I say, okay, Oswaldo, what is next? Now RevAna wants to do this in English. Let's go, let's do it.
We are brave and daring, right? But we just have so much love to share these principles because we know they work. And the thing is that they do work, but we have to be really receptive and open. And what happens is when the crisis comes, this is where we're primed for that. That's why there's a saying from one of my mentors in the island that she would say, man's adversity is God's opportunity.
Right. And the Alcoholics Anonymous say, if it works if you work it. It works if you work it. So this is the truth. You can't just read about it and think, well, that's wonderful. You have to get in there and work it.
Yeah.
And that know that as you go from one level of consciousness to the other, that is going to be like a dark tunnel.
Right.
And it's not going to feel good. And you're going to be tempted to walk back.
Right.
And you're going to say, like, this is not, there's a lot of inner conversation pointing you maybe back, or this is not going to work, but the thing is, we're saying in this show today is keep walking in spite of the fear.
Right.
And know that this is just part of the journey.
Right.
Somehow, at some point, if you keep working it, you're going to see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Right. You have to walk through that fear, because the fear will want to stop you and want to paralyze you.
And it might take time. When we last 2 weeks, when we saw Myrtle Fillmore's healing story, she mentioned how it took a while for her organs to awake.
Right.
And she says, this is a work of patience and time.
Exactly.
So if it feels that your unknown period or your dark period is extending, don't lose hope.
Right.
Tell yourself, this is just part of the journey that so many have crossed. And this is why Scripture tells us, for we don't walk by sight, but by faith.
Exactly.
And this is a journey of faith.
And this process took close to 2 years. It didn't happen overnight. It took time to really be dedicated to the healing of this child.
And I'm sure that for a long period you were not seeing necessarily concrete results, but that didn't stop you from doing the work.
Exactly. Exactly.
You did not quit.
No, I did not quit, because I switched my thinking from remission is probable to a remission is possible. And I held that thought completely.
Say that again.
Instead of saying remission is probable, I said remission is possible.
So you shifted from probability to possibility.
Exactly.
Which is almost like from hope. We start with hope
Right.
to build faith, to go into certainty.
Right.
So what we're saying, it's a process.
It's a process, and you have to be willing to have people laugh at you when you say it and still know it and hold the truth, because most of the people said it is not possible and it is not probable, it's nothing, it's not going to happen. So you have to hold that truth no matter what other people say, including your family.
Right, and that is why in this type of work, surrounding yourself with people with a higher level of consciousness, it's so vital.
Exactly.
It's almost like, going back to the analogy of the tunnel. It's like, okay, I can do it by myself with people who are questioning or doubting, and that's gonna really delay me. Whereas I can use people who have been there already and are telling me, keep going, keep going, keep going, and they might pull a flashlight.
Right.
And you might say, okay, I'm starting to see some light.
Exactly.
The point here is that I remember when I started in this shamanic path and everything else, metaphysics, unity, family. What
Your
is
family
this?
was like...
Yeah, are you crazy? This is Oswaldo, of course. He's always looking for something that he didn't
Exactly.
lose, and there you are. So I didn't pay attention to that, and then
You
I
were
realized that. Remember that in the retreat we said that we are here, family. Talking about
Yeah.
the fear of abandonment. So that's what I experienced. Okay, I'm not alone because there is another cuckoo people like me thinking
Right.
that there is possible.
Yeah.
And that's for me, that's the first step. It's not that you want to disconnect from your family, but just don't pay attention, because
Right.
eventually they will see you. Eventually. But once they see me, is when, wow, I'm far away from where they are, because they are still thinking that God is in heaven.
Mm-hmm.
You see, and I'm always saying, hello, please, update your version of God. because that version that God is in heaven and somebody is down there, that's not good anymore.
Right.
You see, what we need to update that.
That no longer works.
That no longer
Yeah.
works.
So it's really a journey of faith and courage. And I believe that if we're here sitting today, is that at some level, all of us have gone through that journey. And what we're saying is that come on board. Come on board and say, go within and say, if I really want to experience another way of life, I want to feel the allness of God in my body, in my relationships, in my finances, and all of that. It is possible, and that is our message, the core message of the unity philosophy and this series. So take time this week to contemplate all of this. If you need to watch this again, please do. And then join us next week, in which we're going to do the affirmative work and the meditation to really take all of this information deeper at our soul level where the transformation occurs. Thank you for tuning in, and we love you and we bless you. Namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste.